Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I just want to quickly run you guys through an analysis, or let me say a trade setup that went wrong. And prior to me sharing the trade setup with you guys, I would like you guys to understand that regardless of how juicy your setup is, I want you guys to know one thing, that you will definitely hit stop loss. And that is one of the reasons why you need to try as much as possible whenever you are trading to apply proper risk management. And with the way I trade, I think the way I trade have somehow helped me to manage my risk and not allow me to have a kind of emotional trauma, because this is the way I trade. Let's say for instance I want to risk $50 on a particular setup, and I have $1,000 in my, let's say in my with my broker rather. So I will put $950 in my broker wallet and move the $50 which I want to trade with, if I found my setup, and move it to my MT4 or MT5. Basically I use MT5. So the only balance you will see on my MT5 happens to be the amount which I want to risk. So if I'm risking $50, I will move from my wallet to my trading account $50. Then I will definitely go in with that $50. So with that, I am able to manage my risk. And whenever I see my setup, that is why sometimes I try to leverage on the margin which I have. So now, this is the story about the setup that went wrong on BTC USD. And you can agree with me that this is daily time frame of BTC USD. And if you look at, let me just run you through the analysis. If you look at this point here, which is this point, we have a break of structure here. We have a break of structure here. And we failed to create another break of structure. And we started having a kind of break of structure to the downside and probably a break of structure to the downside. Don't forget, we have an order block around here. We have an order block around here, which price ought to come and mitigate. Yes. So this order block here, which is this order block here, around this level. So the order block here is where I am expecting price to fall into before we can have a further push to the upside on BTC USD. So I want to understand all this on the daily time frame. I went to the 4-hour time frame to read what the 4-hour time frame is saying, and I can still see that on the 4-hour time frame, from this point we started moving kind of bearish. We have a break of structure here to the downside, a break of structure here, and price creates a change of character here to the upside. So when price creates a change of character here, price came back to mitigate this fair value gap here. So to mitigate this fair value gap, and if at all price will rally up, price needs to break this point, as in when price tap into here, this movement ought to continue up to this point. But to my surprise, the movement creates another, let me say, break of structure to the downside here, and we see a mitigation of this imbalance here on the 4-hour time frame. So if we have this mitigation of this fair value gap, price needs to tank. After this mitigation, price needs to tank and continue going down. But unfortunately, price creates a break of structure, which is also indicating, you see, there's a break of structure here, and this is where price came into. Price came into this order block. So we are expecting the price to do what? To continue to the downside. So I scale down to my 2 hours time frame. So this is basically how top-down analysis is being done. So I scale down to my 2 hours time frame to break the chart further down. I still see that price is still sitting inside this order block, which we have seen from 4 hour time frame. So our target is basically for price to come at least to this level first. So now I move from there, I move to my 1 hour time frame. So on my 1 hour time frame, what did I say? I say that price is still within the order block. So from there, I jump to my 30 minutes time frame. And 30 minutes time frame happens to be where I found my setup. So, and how did I find my setup on the 30 minutes time frame? It is obvious to us that we have a break of structure here on the 30 minutes time frame, and we have this pullback here. You can see we have this pullback here, this pullback. So that pullback area is an incomplete pullback that creates a kind of liquidity here. So we have that liquidity, and this is the order block here. This is the order block. So let me just bring out my drawing. So let me bring out my drawing so that you guys can see what really happens to me based on the trade. So I want to bring out my drawing so you can see that's the setup. So I have this order block here. This is the order block. So after identifying that there's a pullback here, there's an incomplete pullback, and this is an order block. So this area is the order block. So what am I expecting from the price? I am expecting price to push inside this order block, and so that we can tank down to this level. But fortunately for me, the first move pulls into the order block as I have anticipated, and we have just a slight reaction. You can see after the push inside here, we have this slight reaction, and the next thing, probably maybe there's a noise, I don't really know. We have this reversal, which eventually took out my stop loss at this point here. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption, guys. So we have the pullback, which eventually took out my stop loss. You see, I got it out from this setup, and after being it out, price dropped and eventually came back inside. So price now came back inside this newly created order block. You can see. So price now create another new order block, came back into it, and price is quite dropping now. So why am I sharing this analysis? The reason why I'm just sharing this analysis is just to let you know that irrespective of the setup you have, regardless of how juicy the setup is, because if you look at this setup, it meets every criteria of my trading style, which is I need a liquidity sweep, order block rather, pull back into the order block, and on the norms, price needs to continue to drop. My anticipation is for price to drop to this point. But sometimes price will behave irrational, just like you can see. Price still come back or came back to my entry and even move to the point of stopping me out before eventually moving in still the same direction which I have anticipated. So, my dear brothers and sisters, to be honest with you, regardless of how sweet or how juicy your setup may be, you may still hit stop loss. That is one thing I want you to bear in mind. So, in order for you to keep your sanity whenever you are trading, just try as much as possible to apply proper risk management. And if you think that maybe the setup I took is very wrong, I need you to comment down below in this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.